I think I've got the Panasonic S5 II X, mostly because I'm lazy. What I mean by that is that I do not like to do unnecessary stuff whenever I can, because I do not have time to fiddle around. I got the camera 6 days ago, so this is first impression video, although I've shot several videos with it already, so got some workflow experience. I bought the S5 II X with my own money, so I do not feel any pressure to review it positively, like people who have a relationship with Panasonic. Sure, there is always some bias, because whenever you buy something, especially something expensive, you try to subconsciously convince yourself it was a good buy, but I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. And I already own Sony a7 IV, so a comparison is a natural thing. And again, I think I got S5 II X mostly because I'm lazy. I mean, the workflow with this camera cuts out some annoying steps compared to a7 IV or a6600. Actually, I cannot wait to start using it more, but for videos about it, I have to use different cameras to record the footage. If you find this video useful and you want to buy this camera, affiliate links are in the description below. It helps the channel a lot since it's not even monetized. And what is so good about the workflow with S5 II X? First Pro 6K open gate recording is huge. I was not aware how big 6K is compared to 4K, even though I got Blackmagic 6K. I've got Panasonic 18mm f1.8 with the body, and with this lens I can record 6K open gate in this small room, and then reframe it to 16:9 and vertical 9:16 without rescaling. Both crops are at least 4K. I've recorded several shots using Panasonic already, and I do not have to rotate the camera like a7 IV or a6600 to do it. I got 9:16 marker on the camera screen and 16:9 on the external monitor. That way I can see I'm properly framed for both aspect ratios. No need to record twice or get the weirdly framed, too tight vertical footage. 18mm might be too wide, but I'm going to test some other lenses too, so stay tuned. I guess I will record dedicated video about reframing in post to chosen aspect ratios, but you can either reframe it to pixel or also scale it down from any area of 6K image, so plenty of options. You can also pan 4K frame in the footage without need for the slider, and seems there is an option to do it in the camera also. Second Pro SSD recording, great news. My PNY drive works like a charm. I've got a promo version of S5 II X, so free 2TB SanDisk Extreme, but since lately these drives are dying like crazy, I will probably never use it. But this PNY works really well so far. Although the way S5 II X utilizes SSD is a bit quirky, you have to turn on and off the SSD recording in the menu whenever you want to switch between SSD and SD card. It also searches for the drive during the boot up and complains if it is not connected. Drive can be connected later and it is rescanned by the body and works fine, but this unnecessary pop-up is kinda annoying and takes time. It should just complain whenever you want to record. Anyway, I've recorded 6K long GOP, 4K OI H.265 and ProRes HQ422. Zero problems, zero dropped frames. I'm not sure how reliable these PNY drives are, but user reviews are promising. Films are copying around 800 megabytes of the drive to my NAS, but actually NAS is the bottleneck here, and footage copies above 1 gigabyte per second to the PC. I've already edited some videos for my other channels directly from the drive. Works like a charm, no need to copy the footage. For this price, I can only recommend it. Affiliate link in the description down below. I just need a cage and T5 holder because at the moment the drive is dangling on the cable. And remember, S5 II X supports drives up to 2TB, so do not buy 4TB version. I prefer the SSD workflow because SD card step is kinda annoying. It is 3 times slower to copy the footage, and with SSD, if the footage is temporary, I do not need to copy at all. I can edit straight from the drive. It is huge time and hassle saver. Third Pro seems the IBIS is like 10 times better than on Sony a7 IV. I've already done some quick tests using this contraption with 2 cameras mounted on it. That way I got identical footage from both cameras, same shake, same hand switches, and the difference is very surprising. Here is some example footage from quick tests. Based on S5 II reviews, I was not convinced it's better than Sony, but after this quick test, I'm shocked how better it is, although Sony IBIS is known to be kinda lame. I will investigate this further, so there will be definitely dedicated video about the IBIS, but it seems S5 II and S5 IIX might be the ultimate vlogging full-frame cameras at this price point. I used A7 IV with Samyang 12mm f2 in APS-C mode, so 18mm f3 equivalent versus S5 IIX with Lumix 18mm f1.8, then Sony with 20mm f1.8 versus Panasonic with 18mm, tested even active stabilization on Sony versus IBIS only on Panasonic, and it seems Panasonic is still better. I was not walking carefully, just a normal walk on the uneven grass, and especially during hand swap or bumpy steps, Panasonic IBIS shows its superiority. Almost no visible shakes, probably the corners are more wobbly on Panasonic, but corner wobbliness is not a big deal compared to the Sony's shakiness of a full image. And to be honest, I'm not sure this corner wobbliness on Panasonic is that visible, just judge yourself. 4th Pro, the line input setting for the mic-in. Every camera should have this setting. Problem is that with Zoom F6, one of the most popular 32-bit float recorders, you cannot correctly set up line out levels, because there is always a hiss if your camera got just standard mic input. Almost every Panasonic camera and Blackmagic 2 got the ability to set up a mic in as line in, which allows recording line out from the recorders or mixers directly to the camera. This way, I can skip another 2 steps in the process, if levels are set up correctly. I do not need to copy files from Zoom F6 to the PC, and then I do not need to sync them in post. That way, I got proper audio already in the camera files, which are on SSD. Another huge time saver for lazy people like me. By lazy, I mean people who like to use proper tools for the task. 5th Pro, I've got Sigma MC21 adapter, and it seems that autofocus works as good as with native lenses, even in video with Canon EF glass. It's not the case with Sigma MC11 and Sony bodies, because with MC11, autofocus works only with Sigma lenses, and for other manufacturers, autofocus works only in photo mode. But there are third-party adapters, which seems to work also in video mode for Sony, so not that big of an argument, but MC21 is an official L-mount Alliance product. I've just recorded several shots with Sigma adapter and Canon 24mm f2.8. Autofocus works fine. It seems that eye autofocus engages a bit closer to the camera, but it might be due to the fact that my native lens is 18mm and adapted I tested were 24 and 35. So this may be the same distance from the sensor, but the crop is different due to the different focal length, so it just seems it is closer. Also very important, lens stabilization is recognized and works. Not sure how good yet. I will test it further and share my findings, so stay tuned. 6th Pro, even though I have relatively small hands, the Panasonic seems to have better body ergonomics, especially the grip. Generally, the build seems to be a bit more plasticky than Sony A7 IV, mostly the flaps, SD card and ports, but general feeling is on par or even better. I'm not going to use Panasonic as a photo camera, so it's not a big deal for me, but if someone wants to use it as a hybrid one, it's important, yet it is a personal preference again, so you might feel differently about it. 7th Pro, face detection autofocus works well. I've recorded some videos for my other mostly TikTok channels and never seen autofocus fail. It failed only when I crossed the minimum focus distance. Maybe it's not enough to give definite feedback, but so far so good. 8th Pro, quick menu seems to be more user-friendly, but I'm not sure you can customize it. Yet all the options I've needed so far are there, and handling is faster than via Sony's quick menu. And another Pro, personal preference again, but it seems that Vlog is grading better with LUTs. I mean, the colors out of it are more natural. Again, personal preference, yet the YouTube audience probably prefers more saturated Sony colors. Also related to Vlog, base ISO is 640 versus 800 for Sony S-Log. 1/3 of the stop lower Not a big difference, but still might be useful in some situations. For example, less ND power is needed. And I think another pro, the shutter angle setting. This is huge because whenever you change the frame rate, the shutter angle stays the same. So it means you always got the blur you want. There are probably more pros, but it is just a first impression video. Are there any cons? Menus and default settings a bit quirky. It is probably the case of being a Panasonic user, but for example, autofocus does not work in video mode until you press the record button. There is a specific setting in the menus to turn off autofocus to be always on in video mode. Weird, but I guess it is to save the battery life. There are some other settings which defaults are strange compared to other cameras I own. So I spent like 30 minutes in the menu to set all the stuff the way I wanted. Battery indicator is depicted with just 4 bars instead of percentage. It is kinda annoying. When I see the last bar, I'm panicking. But for the studio recording, I'm going to test the USB-C hub with power delivery. That in theory should allow to connect the drive and deliver power to the camera at the same time. SSD recording is a bit quirky. If you turn it on, it seems that the camera does not see SD cards anymore. So to switch between SD card and SSD recording, you have to manually switch that option in the menu. I've added this to my custom menu, but still a few clicks. The number of recording options is a bit overwhelming. I mean, I understand them all, but to get through them all to the one I want is kinda annoying. Although there is an option to create your favorite video recording flavor list, so not a big deal, but I haven't got time to create it yet. I got 3 Lumix cameras before, and still their menus and naming is a bit weird for me, but again it's a personal preference, so not a big deal. 6K anamorphic shooting, I cannot say anything yet because there are no L-mount anamorphics available in my country at the moment. Maybe I will get some EF rental lens to test it, and I guess I will order the Sirui 35mm Saturn from Amazon. It seems it's available there. So then I will share my thoughts. But if I have to choose the camera for around $2K US for video creation, I think I would choose S5 II X or even S5 II over the Sony, Nikon or any Canon offerings. For that price you cannot buy a better camera for video. I have nothing to say about photos because basically I haven't shot one, but there are plenty of photo reviews of both and it seems they are excellent in that regard too. If I find any quirks or deal breakers, I will share in future videos, so stay tuned. And if you want to buy this camera, affiliate links are in the description down below. It helps the channel a lot since it is not even monetized. Cheers, mate!